Alright, we did Toby, we did Andrew. It only makes sense to tackle our current boy, Tom Holland. I'm watching Spider-Man No Way Home tonight, and with that, I'm actually going to make this video brief, or as brief as I can make it. I have a lot of thoughts. While Tom does have 2 complete films right now, his story is far from complete when we compare it to our other 2 main characters. So I'll be keeping this video a little short and sweet for now. I'll probably revisit this video once we finish this trilogy, and No Way Home sits with me for a while, but for now, these are my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Welcome to the Panic Bros channel. My name is Josue. Let's get it started. Spider-Man Homecoming is a hard one for me. When I first watched this movie in theaters, I remember having this crazy feeling within me that something wasn't right about it. And to this day, I kind of still get that feeling. Comparing this Spider-Man to the other 2 is honestly, at this point, kind of a given, especially since Marvel themselves are handling this character story-wise, not Sony. So they should have a better outlook on the character, right? Well, I have some thoughts, but let's start with the positives. Both this film and the next are arguably the funniest Spider-Man movies. The only ones that kind of come close are Into the Spider-Verse and Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think the big Vulture reveal is amazing, and on top of that, Vulture is just a fantastic villain. I'm really excited to know that they have a sort of plan for him, since we see him in the after credits scene, and the fact that he's gonna be in Morbius. I love seeing Spider-Man be Spider-Man in the outer boroughs and part of New York outside of Manhattan. He's mainly hanging out in Queens, Long Island, and Brooklyn in this film, and it kind of gives me a sense of this kid is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I love the sequence where he's just helping anyone who remotely needs help. It feels so Spider-Man to me. His relationship with Ned is amazing, and his Aunt May is, without a doubt, the best of the 3 series. Not to mention the last scene of Aunt May, where she finds out his true identity, is such a definitive visual stamp that this Spider-Man will be different compared to our last 2. I also really like his choice of turning down being a member of the Avengers, sticking to that friendly neighborhood aspect of him also. And him going after the Vulture just because he knows it's the right thing to do. You gotta love it. Plus, I really geek out when I see the underarm webbing. Like, it's just, I can't believe it took us this long to have a Spider-Man who has that. There's a lot to like about Spider-Man Homecoming. But if we had to switch to the negatives, I absolutely hate the impact of Iron Man in this film. Almost every negative aspect I had to say regarding Homecoming involves Iron Man. Now, I don't hate Iron Man. I think he's a wonderful and influential character in his own right, but having him here completely takes away from Spider-Man. From Spider-Man, Marvel's golden child. We see him spend every second just staring at his phone, waiting for a text from Iron Man. He needs to get saved by Iron Man multiple times. The 2 moments in this film that irk me the most, the first one, Peter going up to Iron Man saying he's nothing without the suit. Nothing? You have been doing this Spider-Man game for 6 months before Iron Man came into the picture in Civil War. We've seen you talk about if you have powers, it's your responsibility to help others out. You still have powers without this suit. What the hell is it about Iron Man's suit that suddenly gives you validation? You were doing this before Iron Man came. I shouldn't compare, I know I shouldn't, but when you have Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, who was powerless, run into a burning building to save a little girl, it's hard for me to want to look up to Tom Holland's Peter Parker, who's complaining to Iron Man, and Iron Man grounds him by taking away the suit. This is the moment that honestly killed any and all momentum this movie had going on for me. Not to mention that this moment comes right after what should have been Spider-Man's big moment getting ruined by Iron Man. I legitimately call this film Iron Man 3.5, because honestly, that's what it feels like to me. Now, I don't want to have to continue this negativity leading into Far From Home, but I'd rather get it out of the way, as I vastly prefer this film over Homecoming. I still hate how much of an impact Iron Man has on this iteration of Spider-Man. The opening couple of scenes, okay, fine, I'll take that, as seeing how much this Spider-Man cared for him, but the Edith glasses felt too much for me at that point. Tony Stark still ends up having a major plot point for this film through these glasses. And Mysterio, massively played by Jake Gyllenhaal, mind you, doesn't have beef with Spider-Man. He has beef with Iron Man. You know, with him being an old employee of Stark Industries and stuff, but are you kidding me? I enjoyed the hero-villain dynamic in the first film, but in this film, it feels like Mysterio might as well be Iron Man's villain, not Spider-Man's. But alright, enough of that. Let's switch over to the positives. The humor goes hard in this movie. So many moments of genuine laughter that comes out of me even after the millionth rewatch. Especially in the opening sequence. Oh my god, and then we have the sequence with that guy trying to get in the picture, losing the camera. Like, it's so funny. Having Nick Fury here as the representative from the Marvel Sony contract feels like the correct choice for me, as his impact never once takes away from the story. Seeing J. Jonah Jameson played by J.K. Simmons, and honestly, one of the best top 3 post-credit scenes in cinema history, made me scream when I saw it in theaters. And the other post-credit scene is not a joke either. That was so phenomenal. Peter and MJ's relationship is really cute, and their kiss at the end honestly makes me really happy. At the end of the day, it just feels like these movies have really high highs. Like, probably some of the highest highs in all Spider-Man movies. But it has the lowest lows. Some of the lowest lows. I can't forget about Spider-Man 3. Out of all Spider-Man movies. Far From Home is the much better film for me though, and every rewatch I've had of that film makes me appreciate it more and more every time. Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man is really interesting to me though, as while he's had solo movies of his own, his story can't be completely told without what he goes through in his appearances in the team-up films, which by the time of No Way Home, he has just as many team-up appearances as he does solo films, with Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. I honestly believe the Russo brothers has kind of given me my more favorite depiction of Tom Holland's Spider-Man versus John Watts. They make the most of Iron Man's impact in Homecoming for the really touching scene at the end of Endgame when they hug for the first time in years. But I think it'll make much more sense to go further in depth on Tom Holland's full story as Spider-Man after No Way Home sits with me for a while. That's about it. I have No Way Home tonight and I'm fucking pumped. I hope Tom Holland is in the movie.